is Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the meteorologist on the Moose, and on our journey today, it finally has happened. Microsoft has bought Activision Blizzard and or King. And have they bought you? We'll find out. So jump on into the Xbox Drive.
No power greater than X.
Greetings, fellow travelers. Welcome to the 99th level of the... Wait, hold on. That's the wrong show intro. Hello, Sean.
The hell are you doing over there? You already heard like the song and the me screaming and the bra and the... How could you possibly be confused?
I mean, you know, we just earlier this week, Sean, we got out the stat sheets, we filled in our character sheets on the RPG Cave, and we got our new character classes, and I was so excited to share them, Sean, because now I'm level 199 Dark Lord now, as opposed to a level 99 Archmage.
Help us all.
You know, it's one of those things where I was so excited to share that it just came out, Sean. It just came out of me.
Turn to the dark side, man. Just like we all knew you would.
Please. I turned to the dark side. You're making it sound like this is brand new.
I just think you had people fooled for a little while. So now the true Ryan Turford is coming out.
I mean, it's one of those things where when you look at the Carpool Gaming roster, Sean, when you try and look at the moral alignments of who actually works in the Carpool Gaming cinematic universe, if you would, Lockliff and I are clearly holding down the evil side of that chart.
I think you got Amanda maybe coming in with you.
Maybe a little.
She's got a little chaos.
Yeah, she's like chaotic neutral or chaotic evil. Because Garrett also, we found out this week, Garrett's chaotic neutral. That's where he puts himself on the chart.
Just when I think I'm understanding this stuff, like you throw another like element into the mix, and I have no idea what you're talking about anymore.
Yeah. This one's also for Donnie Reese. I see Donnie in the chat, so of course I'm bringing it up RPG talk on the Xbox Drive. And you know, we're 2.5 minutes in the show, Sean, and I haven't even asked, how are you?
I'm great. I had a whole bunch of things delivered to my home today because they got those Amazon Prime days in October again, or for the first time. I've never received this before, so picked up It. I've never seen this. Never seen It before, Ryan Turford.
Now, hold on, Sean. Never seen It at all, as in you never saw the Tim Curry It either?
Nope. I just know that there's a balloon and a sewer and a clown, and that's all I know about this.
God, you're so behind. I'm so excited to talk to you about horror movies later this month.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Speaking of horror movies, picked up The Exorcist on 4K, Ryan.
A good one. I don't know if I love that box art, but it's a good movie.
Little weird. Little
there's a steelbook for that where the box art I think it looks cooler. Where it's like her and she looks all demonic with like a face like a head-on shot, but it's all blue, like she's blue. It looks really good.
Well, the third movie I picked up was Dune. I've never seen Dune, Ryan.
Apparently I haven't seen that one movie.
Either. Oh, so there's that. And then for the Nintendo Drive, I picked up Bayonetta 3.
Well, hold on. What did you spend your voucher codes on that if you didn't spend it on that? Because that was the whole plan. I spent my remaining voucher on Fire Emblem Engage. That has been completed. Right. So now I think I'm going to buy another pair. And I have I picked up a gift card from EB Games or GameStop earlier today. Right. So put that towards what I actually did, Ryan. Why I'm kind of dancing around this is because I got some socks for my birthday, which was in July, and I hadn't used them at all. Like, didn't even take the labels off or anything. So I just took them back to GameStop today. I was just seeing like, could I maybe exchange these? And they let me do it. So I put them towards this gift card, and that is going to go towards my next voucher set. That's so nice of them because I wouldn't have expected them to let you return something 4 months later after you got them.
I think the guy was new. I don't think he's been beaten down by the system yet.
I mean, it's either that or maybe they're taking the Walmart approach where, you know, you don't even really need a receipt at Walmart. You can just tell them, yeah, I just want to return this, and they'll just take it back.
It did show up on Chelsea's like Edge account, so they were able to, you know, pull something, I guess. So it worked out. So this will go towards my next set of vouchers. I'll get Mario Wonder. Anyways, this is the Xbox Drive, man.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, the other thing, of course, since this is the Xbox Drive, Sean, and since you haven't asked how I'm doing, I'll explain to you because it's a cool 10 degrees Celsius outside, Sean, because a cold front just came in earlier this week, and it's been much, much cooler throughout the week. And we actually have some light showers, you know, 60% precipitation happening, you know, between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. this evening here in Toronto.
Can I give you an update from my side of the pond here, Ryan Turford?
Yes, please.
On Wednesday, I'm taking my car to Canadian Tire for an oil change and to change my winter tires and hopefully fix the fan so that I can actually blow some heat on my windshield, because it gets a little frosty, gets a little icy.
It's helpful, man. Winter's coming because we've already got people calling for snow in Toronto in the next couple weeks.
This is going too far. It's Friday the 13th. Happy Friday the 13th to you, my friend.
Happy Friday the 13th to you. By the way, on X today, Sean, I don't know if you saw it. I posted my Friday the 13th movie definitive ranking over on
I didn't see it.
Because I wanted to show off, because I love Friday the 13th. It's one of my favorite horror franchises. So I had to, of course, be out there today showing off, my Friday the 13th box set with my Friday the 13th NES game. And then, of course, my tier list of Friday the 13th.
I love it.
Movies.
I'm going to watch it tomorrow night. I'm going to watch it on Saturday the 14th.
Okay.
I actually might watch it after this. Actually, depending on how long we go, it might actually happen.
I mean, it's not a long movie. You could probably actually
dude, these horror movies, they're all 90 minutes. It's like a hard limit.
That's one of the best things about watching horror movies, Sean. I mean, actually, I watched one last night. I watched The Orphan last night for the first time, Sean, which was an interesting movie. It had a little bit of ick to it, but beyond the ick factor, I actually thought that was actually a pretty good movie. It's really crazy, but that movie was 2 hours long, and that doesn't happen very often with horror movies. So
I'm trying.
That's one of the things I've always loved about horror movies is they're small and easy to get through.
They're like children's movies. They're like Disney
movies. In a way, like children's movies for adults.
Yep. Good times. Yeah, yes, Ryan.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, this is the Xbox Drive. We talk about Xbox all the time.
There's nothing to talk about. Let's just keep talking about movies. There's no news or
that's true.
Games to have been played.
Nothing big could have possibly happened today, Sean.
We could pin it. You could pin it for later.
Put a pin in it, Sean. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to, because we got a whole bunch of stuff to get to first.
We played games.
We did actually play games, so we'll talk about that. But before we get into talking about playing games, Sean, should probably clean the garage a little bit, because it's gonna get a little dusty in there, Sean. We got to prep the garage for winter as well, because winter is coming, as one might say. So, folks at home, if you're watching the Xbox Drive right here at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, or if you're watching the video on demand later, don't forget to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you haven't smashed that subscribe button already, and of course, let us know in the comments below what you think about the big news at Xbox this week, or what the weather's like in your hometown.
Yeah, we don't want to know about. Yeah, don't tell us about the happenings in video game. We want to know what the weather is like where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're listening on audio podcasts, don't forget to rate us if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or maybe leave us a nice Apple Podcast review, or you can leave us a comment on Spotify, because that is a thing now as well. Also, if you want one big podcast feed with all the Carpool Gaming cinematic universe on it, or some exclusive content, you can head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/carpoolgaming, just like Dan and Luma, who joined up at the gold tier, and Brian Eck, who joined up at the exclusive tier.
Brian Scott.
Sorry, I copied pasted it from the Discord, so I apologize for getting that wrong. That's my mistake. But either way, Brian
Eck is back recently too, so shout out to Brian Eck. Yeah,
that's probably
Brian Scott back at the exclusive tier. Dude, we're on a run lately. Yeah. I feel like every week we're welcoming somebody back in, or welcoming somebody to the Patreon. It's kind of wild right now. So we appreciate you guys very much, where you can get a whole ton of exclusive content, Ryan. We got that. We're going to talk about horror movies.
You've also been on a roll with content as well. You just released It Could Be Anything episode 1 with Drellesh, which was like a marathon of an episode. That episode is so long.
Is it?
But it's good. It's a good episode though.
2.5 hours, I think, something like that. Just
a really
good
long,
old
Sean.
Conversation. Yeah, it was we did that last month actually. And it was good to go back and visit to it. So anybody who knows me from way back in the day, they might remember a show I used to do called We the Gamer Cast. It's basically that. So if you liked We the Gamer Cast, it's showing up every once in a while on a podcast called It Could Be Anything. Sometimes it could be We the Gamer Cast, right?
Sometimes it could be that, or sometimes it might be a horror episode with Ryan, Sean, and Donnie.
I'm stoked. I'm so stoked. I've watched 4 out of 5 horror movies. Again, if you don't want to know what's happening, I'm sorry, but we gotta hype up the content, man. We gotta hype it up.
Of course.
I have watched. Do you want to know what I've watched, Ryan Turford, or did you have something else?
I mean, you can do that. The only thing I'll say about hyping it up is also people don't know what's coming after this. So it's like, we're only letting them know so far in advance.
That's true.
Happening.
That's true.
So like, who knows?
This is definitely happening, because I've watched 4 out of 5. The 5th one is Friday the 13th, which of course I've just mentioned. Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Freddy Krueger movie. I just watched that for the very first time. We're going to talk about it. I watched Child's Play for the very first time, the first Chucky movie for the first time. I watched Hellraiser for the first time, and I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Ryan, what a lineup of movies. I cannot wait to talk to you guys about these. I've so far watched 4. I can't wait to talk to you about 5 movies. That episode will air on the 26th of October. So perfect time before Halloween hits.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, now you're prepared, Sean. You can finally play the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game, and you'll know what's going on now.
Yeah, I'm sure it really relied on the plot. Like, definitely
it does a little bit.
Yeah,
it gives the. I mean, if you, because you've seen the movie obviously now, so now you know, like at the beginning of the game, it does the same thing where it's like, this is based off a true story. 5 teens went to this cabin, this house in the woods, and they never returned again because of the terror Leatherface and all that good stuff.
Oh man, I took copious notes, and I cannot wait to talk about those movies with you. So I get a little of everything with this show. It could be anything, Ryan. I could do whatever I want. Okay, so
it's true.
I finally have the freedom. I've been let loose. The shackles have been unshackled.
Yeah. Between that and the Pants podcast, which of course is popping off because, we got Amanda's episode, and then Matt did an episode this week. So good times, man. Good times. But anyways, we should probably stop talking about Patreon stuff, Sean, because we should grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It is time for the playlist. We got to talk about the games we've been playing. So I'll let you go first, Sean.
No, you go first. No, after you.
Oh, after me. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're so kind of you. So first off, I'm going to talk about Assassin's Creed Mirage, because I don't have a ton to say about this, because I just don't want to go. Well, that's the thing. I don't want to be too negative about this.
Oh, no. Oh, really?
So, for longtime listeners of the show, I've talked about my history with Assassin's Creed, where I really got into Assassin's Creed with the RPG Assassin's Creed. Like, Assassin's Creed Syndicate was the one that really got me into the series.
Yep.
And then every game after that, I've also really liked. So I loved Origins. Of course, Odyssey is one of the best games on the Xbox One generation. And then, Valhalla, I really liked, despite the fact that not everyone was, over the moon about that. Me and Donnie were like the 2 people that love Valhalla. So, so I was interested to check out Mirage, but one of the reasons why I didn't want to buy it and instead sign up for Ubisoft Plus, which of course is a nice hack, by the way, for folks. Maybe you missed my spiel a couple weeks ago. If you have an Xbox and you want to try out Assassin's Creed Mirage or other Ubisoft games, Ubisoft Plus is now on Xbox, and it's fairly affordable. So if you want to try these games out, they're there. And I am so glad I made that decision, Sean, because the thing is, I love stealth games, but I've never really loved the control scheme of the old Assassin's Creed games or the play style of the older Assassin's Creed games. And that's kind of what I found with Mirage, where, I gave it about 5 hours because it's not, a super long experience, but it just isn't hooking me at all, Sean. It was kind of doing the opposite of that, where, I was accidentally jumping off the sides of buildings all over again, or, climbing when I wasn't supposed to be, like just kind of fighting the controls at all odds, combined with, I just don't think the fighting is that interesting when you do get into combat, because they kind of went back to the old system where you're basically just waiting for the enemy to attack and you just counter every attack the enemy does.
I remember, dude, you just like took me back like a decade. Holy cow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, so that's kind of the back to the combat style they kind of went back to, which is the combat style I didn't like for Assassin's Creed, because it just felt pointless, because you were just, sitting there countering attacks. So, and it just, to MoSpankins' point, you just brought up, thank you, Sean. It doesn't feel clunky or unfinished. To me, it feels clunky in the sense that it feels like it controls like an old game, where they do bring over some of the movement tech from Unity in the newer games, but it really feels like and we know that's from the history of the development of this game. It really almost feels like a remake of Assassin's Creed 1 in a lot of ways. Or going back to that style. And that's one of the things that just, again, doesn't appeal to me. But I've also been loving seeing people who have been super excited about this and really enjoying this. I know Matt just posted yesterday that he just finished the game and really enjoyed that. I saw our friend Steve Vigvari kind of say something similar. Like, I know, people are actually really liking this, and a lot of those people are also the people that kind of fell off the RPG Assassin's Creed. So I really hope that what they do and what they take from this, because I know that this is actually selling pretty well, is I hope they just go back and forth. Like, they do one of these, and then they do an RPG Assassin's Creed, and they go back and forth. But I hope they at least stick with both, because I want those RPG Assassin's Creed still, because I still think they're really good, and I want them to continue doing that. Because I know we got the Japan one coming up, which I'm really excited about, Sean.
Well, Ryan, you mentioned this game is selling well. I just pulled up the tweet. Ubisoft announced that it has been out at the time for 6 days. And what does it say? With the number of players being in line with the past successful launches, such as Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, we're humbled by the positive reception. We're proud also to share that Assassin's Creed Mirage is the biggest new gen launch in terms of unit sales to date at Ubisoft. That's on PS5 and on Xbox Series X and S. It's kind of a weird statement. Like, there's a lot of caveats in there, but like, it does seem that they've been.
It's the first one though, because Valhalla in theory came out on next gen, but it didn't launch on next gen. It came out the week before on old gen. Which is,
so does that like that? We're proud to also share that as the biggest new gen launch in terms of unit sales to date. Like, yeah. I mean, I guess the other thing to bring up with that statement is, like, when that game came out, how many new gen consoles were on the market? Like, how many people had bought them? Maybe a couple million versus the, I don't know, 60 million there are.
When Valhalla came out, because like I said, when Valhalla came to next gen, it
was trying to take anything away from them.
Right. But it was a launch title, so there was no way it was ever going, like, Mirage, of course, is going to do better than it. Like, it makes perfect sense. But also, like, what's been interesting, Sean, is, I watch Spawnwave's content. Shout out to Spawnwave. He does some good stuff over there. And he usually goes over the Japanese charts every week on his news videos that he puts out. And he pointed out that the game is actually selling really well in Japan, where Japan is not like a typical market where Assassin's Creed does super well in.
That's interesting.
So it's interesting that it's like selling well in a couple other places that it doesn't traditionally sell well in, which I thought was an interesting.
That's fascinating. But yeah, MoSpankins has a couple good questions in here. This MoSpankins asks, how many players are playing on Ubisoft subscription? That's unknown. This does specifically say unit sales to date, so it kind of eliminates all that like players business that we were seeing more and more of. And I'm not sure, like, this was pretty early, and this was 6 days in, and so the price hadn't been reduced. Or do you mean? I'm sorry, MoSpankins is asking, do you think the reduced price is a factor? Probably. Yeah, like it's not a $60 game.
Yeah, I think so. Or even just the appeal. Because I know a lot of people were scared off the franchise because of the RPG ones, because they were so long. So them promising a return to the old style, I think, appealed to a large audience that maybe had put Assassin's Creed down for a while and now have started to come back with this one.
Ryan, something very concerning in this tweet, actually. Very concerning. It says 60 million leaps of faith. That's cool. 1.2 million street cats pet. We got to get those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. Okay, everybody? We got to get those cat pets up.
You know why it's so low, though, Sean? It's not an achievement or a trophy. If it was an achievement or a trophy, there'd be so many more people doing
Ubisoft's fault. Yep. Okay. Nope. Good call.
Court pointed this out in his review impressions, and then I remembered even while playing it, I was like, well, I could pet the cat that's on the street, but I'm not going to, because it's not an achievement.
Actively avoid it.
I just walked right by it. There's no reason to do so. It just plays a little cutscene. So yeah, I feel like there are people that kind of feel the same way. So, and yeah, like to MoSpankins' point, like also with Ubisoft subscriptions, again, this subscription is brand new to Xbox.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
In it just we just started getting full games starting last month with the Crew Motor Fest. So I think just a lot of people just haven't caught on to that yet, and it's not even available on PlayStation at all. It's also only on PC. So I think that plays into a little bit. I just don't think too many people are doing the subscription to them, or maybe you don't even know it's a thing, because like I don't think they really advertise it that well. Like we had people after that show where I talked about it, Sean. We had people in the Discord being like, I didn't even know that was a thing that I could.
Which reminds me, #Sean was right. I should have had this clip lined up. Don't care, dude. I don't know if this was in the news or not, but we saw a tweet from Xbox earlier this week that there's a Series S bundle a starter bundle, Ryan. Do you remember what this is about? Do you know what I'm going on about here?
Yes, it's a Series S, a white Series S that comes with 3 months of Game Pass.
Weird.
Imagine that.
So strange. I can't believe wherever would they get an idea for that, Ryan? I have no clue.
I wonder. It's almost like a certain someone sitting next to me tweeted at Aaron Greenberg a whole bunch saying, "Hey, thanks for listening to the show."
Yes, a bunch. Dude, I was looking for like every opportunity I could to put. We even have a short for it where I'm staring straight into the camera saying, "Hi, Aaron Greenberg. It's Sean Capri from the Xbox Drive. I want you to put Game Pass in with these consoles, man. How has it taken this long? What were they doing this whole time? This should be, like I said in the short, people should be signing up for Game Pass by accident. At this point, they should be like opening a book from the library and getting a code like hand signed from Aaron Greenberg going, here's your code for 3 months of Game Pass. Enjoy the Vidya games. That's what it should say, Ryan.
Well, we've been getting, Sean, I don't know if you saw this, like Doritos products with Game Pass.
Oh, I've seen.
I saw them at my local Longo's, Sean, which is the grocery store that's downstairs. And they're, boy, howdy. People are picking
boy, howdy. Yes.
Yeah. Also, Sean, shout out to MoSpankins for pointing out the fact that MoSpankins just found out that Ubisoft Plus was a thing right now, just on this show.
There you go. A lot of people, dude.
That just explains my whole point right there. No one really knows that's even a thing. It's even a thing. It's super, it's so well priced. It's weird, man.
Yep. Well, we haven't had to be, like I said last week, we haven't been talking about Ubisoft games very much lately. So we got Motorfest, we've got Assassin's Creed, so that's good.
You got Avatar and Prince of Persia coming up. Like, Ubisoft's got a lot of games coming up. Like, there's a reason to have that subscription.
You're doing a good job keeping track of what's coming up on that there Ubisoft Plus, my friend.
I'm actually pretty excited about those games though, Sean.
Yeah.
So that explains why. Because believe it or not, I'm like one of the only people on Carpool who likes Avatar at all. So
I definitely don't like the movie. I'm intrigued by the game, and I think that your modus operandi, that's not the right way to use that word. I don't know what it even means.
I don't know words either, Sean.
I think it's a good call, is what I'm trying to say. I think Ubisoft Plus for Avatar, like I think I could be right there with you. And December is still, I think it's pretty light, man. I think that's going to be okay as long as we're not totally destroyed by the next 2 months here.
Watch, that's the 1 month where Hollow Knight Silk Song actually comes out, Sean.
It's not happening. It is not happening.
I love how confident people were about that game actually coming out this year, Sean. But
it should have come out this year.
I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised as well.
Yeah.
Ryan, we've like the releases for December. We've got it pulled up here on Game Informer. Batman Arkham Trilogy on Switch, Dragon Quest Monsters on Switch, Steam World Build, which looks great, coming to everything. Skater XL on Switch, Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song on Switch. These are all games that have finally made it over to Switch.
Yeah.
Avatar is probably is that the only one?
It's really the only thing other than SteamWorld Build. That's it. SteamWorld Build and Avatar. That's it. Those are the only two things out in December.
Yeah. So there you go.
Very quiet month. Whereas suddenly every game all of a sudden wants to come out on February 2nd instead of coming out in December. It's like, guys, come on. What of your games?
October, November. We're in October right now. October is nuts, dude. This is so awesome.
It's too many games.
I love it. Love to see it,
Sean.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, speaking of too many games, Sean, I got one other game I want to touch on before I go.
Touch on it.
Because I turned around on this game, Sean, that I personally just couldn't get into, that I talked about on the show when it came out. And that game is Redfall, Sean. I played Redfall this week. I went back to Redfall. In fact, I made a little definitive statement in the Discord that Donnie Reese screenshotted and now lives in perpetuity forever, which I made the statement Donnie Reese was right about Redfall, because turns out, Sean, when Redfall actually runs properly and it doesn't crash all the time, it's actually a pretty good game. I actually really like Redfall. I've been playing it a lot this week where, I started a brand new character. I basically started over because I wasn't super far into the game anyways, but I wanted to just, start from scratch. And the newest patches they brought in, gives you the 60 frames per second performance mode. But the biggest thing for me that was, a problem with the game when it first came out for me personally was the game constantly freezing and crashing and resetting my save progress. That was a big deal.
No kidding.
There was a big deterrent from me playing the game. So all that stuff, it seems to be fixed because I'm, 15 hours in, Sean, since the patch came out. It hasn't crashed once. Frame rate's been stable. I've been having a good time going into vampire nests and murdering all these vampires and then saving the town. This game is actually a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying Redfall.
What the heck? But the timing of it, Ryan.
That's true.
There's so many other games coming up because everything that you just said is very compelling and very intriguing. I would love to check maybe Extra Life, maybe.
Yeah,
but which is
we
only
should play some co-op Redfall at Extra Life, Sean.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, when Seth and Miles of Amanda, then they all go to bed. They just.
It'd be a good.
I'm just kidding. Seth is gonna stay awake. What am I saying? Yeah. Seth is no problem. I'm scrolling through these patch notes or these update notes, and it's 1,000. It's 6,000 words here.
Yeah,
like they did so much. The
best part is that's not they've been releasing patches for a while now. This is just the newest patch. So like there's been a lot of fixes to the game since it came out. So I'm glad that Arcane stuck with it because I do think this is a really good game. Unfortunately, we just aren't really seeing people play this game at all.
Dude, that's what I said, the timing
to your point, Sean, like it came out at poor timing. Like don't get me wrong, it made sense probably in their minds to release this patch right now because it's spooky season. Halloween. Yep. It makes sense for people to maybe come back to the game. But there's just too much out kind of competing for its attention. And it just so happened that because I am just waiting for Mario Wonder at this point, Sean, because I don't want to start anything big till it comes out, that it just happened to come out at the right moment for me to play this game. Because otherwise I probably wouldn't have. If I was really into Assassin's Creed Mirage as an example, like I probably wouldn't have touched this game.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. Wow. That's cool to hear, though. That's really nice that it's actually good. Like there's a lot of people who were able to. I think Donnie is one of them. I think Luke Laura might have been another one as well, who were able to kind of see through like all the problems with the game, which is it's got to be hard to do, especially when there's so much a cacophony of just madness on the internet, just trying to tear it down. So to see like what was really there, and now it's a little bit more on the surface, that's exciting. So I will say, like, it's funny. I'm more compelled by the turnaround story and by what you just said than I ever was originally with the promise of the game, even before it came out.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's kind of weird.
Because honestly, if the game came out in this state, Sean, like I wouldn't have been surprised if this would have been like high 70s, low 80s, if not higher.
Interesting.
On the Metacritic scale instead of a 57, which is what it's at right now.
Yeah. Wow. Ouch.
Too bad.
I'm glad you got to it, man. That's cool.
Yeah, same. And also, I forgot, Sonic is coming out next week, Sean, which I'm also very excited about as well. That's on Tuesday. So it's going to be a big week. Sonic, into Mario, and then Alan Wake. That's all I need kind of at this point.
Sonic, Mario, and Spider-Man in the same week?
Yeah. That's why I didn't even mention Spider-Man, because I've resigned myself that I'm just not going to play it right away.
Yeah, I think I have to do the same thing. Yes. But Ryan, speaking of Spider-Man, I am playing a Spider-Man game because I know that there's a lot going on, and I've been meaning to get around to Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I actually have on PC. I have it on Steam, and I'm playing the mess out of this game. I fired it up, Ryan, because I thought it was short. Everybody's like, you can finish in a couple hours. So yeah, I fired it up, and I'm finding all the time capsules. I'm finding all the backpacks. I'm swinging around. I want to get all the suits. Like, I'm going to turn this 3-hour game into a 15-hour 100% completion.
Nice.
Because it's just, it's Spider-Man. Anybody who played the original, like it still feels great to play. I think Miles is an amazing character. I love the Venom powers, which I'm not sure if that's made up for this game or if that comes from the comics at all.
That's from the comics.
Okay.
That's one of the things that they did to separate him from Peter Parker.
But they call it Venom powers?
Yes.
Like, is that like, am I taking crazy pills? Like they already use that word.
I know, but that's how they describe it. Because spiders, when they bite you, they use their
well, yeah, but that's venom. Like the
I am aware. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying that's what they do. Okay.
But Ryan, they already have a Venom. They already have a George.
They already had a George, but you're right that they just decided that was what they settled on.
So. Okay, so just a little extra electrical shock, a little sting. You got the powers. They feel great. And I don't know if there's really too much else to say about it. Oh, I will say this. I'm running it on PC. I was playing with ray tracing on, like all the ray tracings on, Ryan. I've got a 3080, which isn't the latest and greatest, but at the time the game was released, it was pretty decent. And the DLSS was handling it fairly well, still kind of jumping around a lot with the frame rate. So turned off ray tracing, and this thing is running at like 90 to 110, 120 frames on my ultra wide, which is unbelievable. Like, it's just the best.
That's how it runs on PS5 too. Like the PS5 with when you have ray tracing on, it runs at I think like 40 frames per second. But if you turn the ray tracing off, you can go up to 120 with that game.
And it's still a gorgeous looking game either way. It's not like you need the ray tracing to make it look acceptable. It's like it's definitely better looking, but I'll take the extra frames. But it's just nice to play a Spider-Man game with an Xbox controller on my PC. Like the world we live in right now is very wonderful. So
I'm glad you're enjoying it. That game's awesome. So
it is awesome.
I'm so glad you're finally getting around to it.
This is my your Assassin's Creed Mirage. Like that's what this is for me. I've got a little time here. I got a little space until Mario comes out on Friday, and then it's all in on that. So
yeah. Although I don't know, Mario might be short enough where we could probably beat it in a weekend, Sean.
Yeah, you're good at games though. I'm not very. We'll find out. I also think I'm going to be playing that ongoing, sort of like Forza Motorsport, which Ryan, just before this, it was Forza Friday over on twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming Live. And this is a thing people can look forward to, I would say. Some sort of gaming happening on Friday nights just before the Xbox Drive here on YouTube. The best place to find out about that is definitely the Discord, I would say. So click on the links below. And we had a great couple hours just playing Forza Motorsport tonight, man. It was awesome. So I had a great time playing that. And I love that. I hope that that's a game that we can kind of continuously come back to once or twice, maybe a week or once every couple of weeks or something like that. Like now I've put in, I don't know, probably 30, 40 hours into Forza. Like it's not necessarily going to be my go-to game every time I sit down to play games. There's other stuff coming. I've got to be able to let go. But multiplayer was a blast tonight, man. Like I said, I think we had a lobby at one point. We had 6 people playing, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So
honestly, I was watching you guys play, and I was very jealous because I wasn't at home to play with you guys.
You got to just quit that job, man. Just got to quit that job.
One of these days.
Just got to,
But then also, Sean, speaking of games you streamed another game this week as well.
Twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming Live. We streamed Call of Duty : Modern Warfare 3 because I saw dude, I've never been so influenced by a tweet in my entire life. I don't think. God. Saw a tweet that said, "Hey, the open beta is live. Pre-order today to get access." I'm like,
my God.
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. So I literally, dude, like it's that one time when whatever marketer is watching for like the path that you click the link and then they go to the page and then they actually buy the thing. I did the thing.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, though, to the audience, because I don't think you said this publicly before, but you said it to me before. This was a game you're going to buy anyways.
Oh, so, yeah. No, this wasn't like this was. Sorry.
You're right. You weren't suddenly like incentivized. Oh, I need to buy this game right now.
Yes.
Like you were going to buy it anyways. And the open beta is there. And you're just like, well, I might as well just do it now.
I don't think I was aware that the open beta was happening like right now. So it was just that perfect storm of I saw the tweet. I happened to be available that night. And I'm like, I think I can make this work. And so you did it. You don't, when an opening like that appears, you don't ignore it. So played a little with Mr. Babbitt over at the trophy room, which was super fun to do.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this much, man. This is where my impressions kind of start and stop with the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Felt like Call of Duty to me. We shot a bunch of people. The game modes, there was that kill confirmed and other modes. And it played smooth. The open beta worked, like it was a fun time. So I'm very bad at the game, but I don't know. Like there's some people who jump in there and they go like, oh, the maps do this and there's signs of light or whatever.
Those are the people that have played, that spend 200 hours plus with each Call of Duty game. That's not us.
That's the thing is like, I do spend a good amount of time playing them, but I then jump off to 60 other games in between. So I do play pretty much every year. I think it's been every year for the last number of years anyways. So it's just I play a lot of in between. So I don't know what people are looking for. I had fun.
I mean, I'm that kind of person with Final Fantasy 14, Sean, where I will memorize what the spell cast for each of the enemies will do. So then I know how to perfectly get out of the way of their attacks or what, cooldowns and stuff I need to prep for them. Like, especially when I'm tanking or I'm healing, like that's a big part of the thing. So it's just like, I can definitely tell like that, like what that personality is kind of like. Where
that makes sense.
You spend enough time with the game, you kind of memorize all those little things that you can definitely tell what's different about it. So
I play just little enough to just always be appreciative of it. I'm like, this is magic. I like this Call of Duty game. This is fun.
You shoot stuff.
It's good times.
Well, Sean.
Ryan.
Actually, hold on. You had no more games, right? That was it, right?
I think that's enough. Yeah.
Because I was about to seamlessly transition, but I wanted to make sure.
Good thing you did that.
Look. Okay, it's late. Okay, what do you want from me? So, speaking of Call of Duty, Sean.
Oh yeah,
news happened today. It's finally over, Sean.
It's over.
20 months after you and I first sat down to talk about this topic.
That's crazy.
Because on what was the second most listened to Xbox Drive episode ever. We are then going to revisit the fact that Activision is officially part of Xbox now, Sean. It's official. It's over until the FTC somehow finds a way to decouple the deal, because they're still trying to do that.
Damn.
But beyond that, the deal is done. Things are happening. We don't have to talk about court documents anymore, or we
didn't talk about any of it. That's the whole
thing. We talked about it a tiny bit.
I mean, a little bit, but it's funny that you should say our second most listened to episode of the show was announcing that and talking about that, and then we decided we're never going to do that again.
That is kind of
let's just avoid this thing. Well, and the thing is, remember, especially very early on, you would listen to a podcast and people are like, I guess we got to talk about this Activision. Like, people did it so begrudgingly. That's the thing that always got me. But in any case, it's an absolute blockbuster deal. I'm glad that Phil Spencer was able to go to the bank machine and walk up to the teller and request $68.7 billion, and the PIN code
just
worked.
Say 69, Sean. 69.
I'll say 68 points. I think we kept rounding, maybe too generously. In any case, glad it's done. I regret heavily not buying Activision stock at $80 because they ended up buying it out at whatever it was, like 95 or whatever it was. So that was a mistake by me. We all could have maybe made a little bit of money investing on or gambling on this, I guess.
No, but I mean, like, what would have happened if the deal fell apart, though? Like,
that's why I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's why I didn't either. Like, it didn't make sense to. But,
no, and we would have disclosed it if we had. But in any case, the deal is done. So every gamers across the internet are rejoicing. Ryan, there's it's just absolute universal joy. Everybody's happy about this, I think.
It's like that scene at the end of the Return of the Jedi Special Edition, where they're showing the different planets, and all the people are celebrating that the Empire has been defeated,
right.
including the people on Naboo. They're like, Misa free, because Jar Jar and the other Gungans are there. Sean,
I quit. I absolutely quit. I cannot believe the turn you just made with that.
Well, it makes me sad that they actually brought the Gungans into Return of the Jedi, Sean, because of course
Same here. I actually had forgotten about it until you just brought it up just now. But in any case, the deal is done. Video games are over. There's a giant monopoly now that Xbox holds, that Microsoft holds. It's there's no reason for anybody else to compete, I think is the takeaway here, right?
I mean, apparently that's what's going on there, even though, we're already hearing stories this week about Disney wanting to buy EA. It's just like, it's a whole thing. So, and
then Apple's going to buy Disney. Like, I guess I get the sentiment of this whole, the consolidation, and it can be a runaway train. I get it. Totally get it. But Call of Duty coming to Game Pass, pretty awesome.
That's if Call of Duty comes to Game Pass, though. We don't know. So one of the things Phil Spencer mentioned today is that as of right now, first of all, we didn't get any Game Pass announcements today. But he did mention that they're working on putting together a package of games for Game Pass and planning out the roadmap about how that's going to happen. And we're going to be hearing about that over the next couple months. So nothing right away. Although I wouldn't be surprised, Sean, if we got like an announcement 2 or 3 weeks from now saying here's like the first wave of Activision games coming to Game Pass, like maybe just in time for like the November Game Pass drop. I wouldn't be surprised if we do something like that.
That's interesting because I obviously look, this is one of the reasons why we avoided talking about it to begin with, because none of us have ever been able, no, we're not lawyers, we don't know.
No, but now it's magical Christmas land time, Sean. Now we can speculate. And now that we know that it is real at this point.
Well, and the reason I kind of put that disclaimer out there is everybody seems to know how these things work, and therefore they know what a reasonable amount of time is for games to be placed on a Game Pass. Like, I have no clue, man. Yeah. I was searching for a tweet. I thought I saw something from Activision about like that kind of hinted that this was going to happen. Like they kind of talked about Game Pass. They talked about games maybe coming at a later date. Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about, Ryan? Was that Activision or was that Call of Duty? Or
Activision talked about First of all, they put up the tweet before the deal was announced.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Saying, and by the way, you actually linked the tweet in our document if you want to look it up.
It is there.
But yeah, they talked about the idea that it's like, hey, by the way, you probably should still buy Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 and Diablo 4 this year because they're not coming to Game Pass this year.
Right. Yes.
But that they are working on other games coming to Game Pass at the moment. Like that's kind of the tweet they put out there. Because yeah, like I would imagine like a lot of even their legacy stuff, like 360 stuff, or early Xbox One stuff is maybe what they start with. Because one of the things we actually found out about putting a game on Game Pass, Sean, is it's not as simple as just pressing a button to then just have it go on Game Pass. There has to be like an update pushed for the game in order for it to be able to appear on Game Pass. Like that's a whole thing where it has to be coded into the game somehow.
I'm just wondering if like they weren't working on that already.
Oh, it might have been, but it's just like, I feel like I think that there might have been certain things, borrowing them from putting all the resources into that right away. But
yeah, the final line of this tweet, and we anticipate that we will begin adding games into Game Pass sometime in the course of next year. I guess that means kind of all of it. Like that seems to separate outside of. It's not like what they highlight certainly Modern Warfare 3 and Diablo 4, like because those are games that are selling at full pop right now, and they want you excited about those. Yeah. And then they really kind of clarify, I think, that no games. It doesn't seem like we should expect a bundle coming in the next couple of months. We're almost at the end of the year, anyways. It's almost 2024 for God's sake.
Because Garrett and I did the math, Sean. We're 11 weeks away from New Year's.
That's crazy. Oh, I don't like that at all. Although I am excited for the year 2024, which is 2024, the Jack Bauer season, Ryan. This will be the year of Jack Bauer, 24.
Sure. I guess we'll go with that. Of course.
I'm going for that. Yes, there it is. I was like, where's he's got the physical. He's got it right there. Where's my prop?
I'm actually surprised that's still here because I'm actually starting to package up my games, Sean, because they're being sold soon. It's gonna be a thing. But anyways, going back to this, like even though that tweet was out there, Sean, I still wouldn't be surprised if we got some Game Pass games before the end of the year, even if it is just smaller titles like anything that came out in the early Xbox One days and things like that. But we'll see. I imagine no Call of Duty games, but like something like Diablo 2 Resurrected is an example. I could see that being on Game Pass before the end of the year.
I could see it. Example. By the end of the year. Wow.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I wonder too, like I'm hoping that they can just bring games over and it's just simple like that.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about like game like BattleNet as an example, like there's a whole bunch of complications that get in the way of some of this stuff, particularly on PC. And I hope they just ignore all that. Just like bring us a bunch of games, make it great. I don't know if we have a question about this, but like I think there's some good stuff that can be brought over.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the questions we have, Sean, are all about old IPs we want to come back from Activision.
We can start there.
Sure. So let's start with Kevin Ainsworth, the Muffin Mon, who says, since Activision Blizzard King said newer games won't hit Game Pass until next year, what is an older title you would like to see hit the service? So this is an interesting one. I know that Donnie posted in the Discord one of the ones I thought of when I read this question, the Prototype 1 and 2 collection. I think would be really interesting because that came out early in the Xbox One generation. And I know a lot of people really like Prototype because they're cool open world superhero-y style games, although you're more of an anti-hero in that game. Very similar to Infamous. If you've played Infamous before, you'd probably be right at home with something like Prototype. So that's one. Although honestly, Kevin, I wish they would just call up your like Disney and be like, hey, can we put Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 back on the store?
Oh, hell yeah.
Have them in Game Pass because it's been a crime, Sean, that you had to basically buy those games within the 6 months they were available because they've never been available again, Sean, at this point. So because I still have those ports on PlayStation because I bought them when they came out because I just happened to buy them within that window. But they got delisted pretty quickly. So like, that's one that's like where if I was like, there making my list, like that's something I'd put on my list there for sure.
Ryan, I'm surprised you're not going all the way back to like Atari 2600 days. Don't you want tennis classics like Mega Mania. Ryan, would you like? Do you want that?
I would rather actually just want River Raid, Sean. Just bring back River Raid.
Pitfall, of course.
Yeah,
Pitfall is probably the first thing I actually remember like seeing and noticing the Activision logo.
Yeah, like
actually, that might be going back too far. Probably Mech Warrior, I would say. Probably Mech Warrior 2.
For me, it was definitely Pitfall because like when we had our Atari, we didn't actually have Activision games. And it wasn't really until I played Pitfall: The Mayan Adventure on the Super Nintendo that I then played Pitfall, the Atari game, for the first time through that.
Amazing.
Because there's a way to unlock that. But Sean, how about Hero, which is Helicopter Emergency Rescue Operation?
Of course. It's got to be an acronym. It couldn't just be a word.
Of course. It's just like, First Encounter Assault Recon as well. But Hero is actually a pretty good game. Pretty good game for the Atari. But
I mean, honestly, people should they owe it to themselves to look back on what Microsoft just obtained. Like obviously a lot of the court documents are focused on Call of Duty, maybe one or two other titles, but like there is actually so much history with Activision. It is wild, dude. Like this company, this publisher has been around, and at a time, nobody wants to talk about this. At a time, it was not doing so great.
Yeah, and they were the very first third-party publisher ever.
Yeah,
like on the Atari 2600 at this point. Like, and it wasn't until after that, like General Mills and Parker Brothers and other companies were coming in, but like they were the first men. And like half the Atari 2600 lineup, Sean, is like Activision games and not games made by Atari, which is just crazy to think about. So yes, you're right. Like their history goes very deep. Blizzard's in the same camp because they have been making games forever. But also, Activision owns companies like Sierra, and they own a bunch of old IPs from Sierra. Because on the thumbnail,
wow,
one of the little things I put on the thumbnail, Sean, as an Easter egg, is the woman, the main character from Phantasmagoria. Which is an old PC FMV game.
Yep.
That Activision owns, which now Microsoft owns, because that IP was owned by Sierra, which then was bought by Activision, which is now bought by Microsoft.
Like, I do hope that they're able to do something. Like, what if they had like a rare replay kind of thing with Activision?
Yes,
like that
they
would
actually
be
did that with Blizzard games,
right?
Because they did like the Blizzard arcade game collection, which was the Vikings, the 3 Viking games, and some other stuff. So
yeah,
they did a bunch of that stuff before.
I feel like Rare Replay is such an amazing package. It's one of the examples of maybe Xbox fans not even realizing what they have. Like, it's just so great. We didn't do a very good job of celebrating it. For people who wanted Xbox or Microsoft to do something more with Rare, like they didn't buy the Rare Replay, so like we'll send them off and do Sea of Thieves. But Rare Replay is excellent, man. People need to pay attention to Rare Replay. I know I'm referencing a game that came out like 8 years ago. I think at this point, I think it was 2015, maybe.
But it's still good. It's still a good package. Like it's still, honestly, for someone who's brand new to the Xbox ecosystem, like that's one of the best recommendations for people to start with.
Yeah,
to play games on.
It's really good.
It's things in there. And
it's yeah.
I was gonna say, like, we've gotten a lot of collections from Activision that are their legacy games in collections like that before. So I mean, it wouldn't be the first time they've done something like that. But I feel like you're right, Sean. Like maybe they do something like that where maybe they have Crash and Spyro in there with their original PlayStation 1 incarnations, as well as maybe a Tony Hawk game in that Rare Replay collection, or Hexen, or any of these other games that they could have in there, as well as a bunch of Atari games, and or even some of Activision's games on Super Nintendo, because as I mentioned, they did Pitfall, but they did a bunch of other games on NES and Super Nintendo as well, and they have a lot, like a rich history of, and most of those games just haven't been re-released ever at all.
There you go. I feel like those are some easy wins. They're not blockbusters. Like obviously Call of Duty hitting Game Pass, that's a big deal. That's what everybody's waiting for. But it's the other stuff that I'm actually kind of more interested in, to see this, like to see layers in this. I don't want it to be just Call of Duty and World of Warcraft, whatever. Like I'm interested in the depth here, because there is so much. People, like, you got to go to multiple Wikipedia pages, by the way, to see all of the Activision games.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Exactly. There's so much here. So and that was sort of like the one thing too about the proceedings. It was all so focused on Call of Duty. I'm like, man, there's so much more interesting things here about Activision Blizzard, but there's also King too, which is certainly a little out of my element. I'm not sure I can speak too much.
I was gonna say,
King
I don't
side.
think either of us really have played King games at all because we don't really play mobile games.
But I definitely played my fair share of Candy Crush, but like I'm not sure what I can add, how that adds to the conversation, other than Xbox is probably going to do something in the mobile space. Like that's such I don't know. It's a canned message at this point.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Candy Crush just keeps making the money at this point, Sean. Like that's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
At this point, but
get that cash flow going, man. But Warcraft, like people know World of Warcraft, of course. I don't know if this adds any opportunity to expand on the Warcraft universe at all, like to get back to a real-time strategy game or give us StarCraft Ghosts. Go back into the vault. Those kinds of things.
Like literally anything else with those Blizzard franchises, like
literally anything else,
something different with StarCraft or Warcraft besides World of Warcraft. Like I would love to see something different from.
Dude, give me a Jim Raynor StarCraft game in the style of Gears of War. Like I feel like that's easy to do. You can have a little like some vehicle segments in there. Get his little. What does he drive around? A Vulture? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Vulture. Yeah, the motorcycle.
Yep. Yeah, just drive around in that thing. Like that could be cool.
I mean, Sean, they'd be really riffing off Warhammer by doing that because they're Space Marines in StarCraft, and of course you've got Warhammer 40K Space Marine.
That reminds me. Yes, Darktide just came to Game Pass, man. I've got to. Oh, there's too many games. And Game Pass is crushing it right now. Everything's good. This is why I like Xbox. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, since we're kind of on this subject, Sean, because that there's a bajillion IP that Activision has. Blaze Knight asks the question, now that this business is settled, it's time for the real discussions to begin. Like, when are we getting a new Lost Vikings video game or a Tony Hawk Pro Skater Underground reboot that the series needs? Like where or like what other IPs would we want to bring back from Activision? Now, first off, I will say, Blaze Knight, that like, because Microsoft just acquired Activision at this point, for the next 4 or 5 years, the games we're going to be hearing about from Activision are going to be games that were greenlit under Activision probably before the merger. At the
sure,
point. Like it's just very hard for them. Like any of those games that Microsoft would sign off for, like the development would be starting tomorrow or like sometime this month, kind of thing. So you'd be waiting 4 or 5 years for us to really see that take shape, but. For me, honestly, this has been mentioned a bunch of times by Bobby Kotick as well as other people at Activision around the time that this deal was being presented. But Guitar Hero, man, like
hell yeah,
Guitar Hero was my jam. People know how much I love Rock Band, and that only is because like Guitar Hero is not around. Like Rock Band's still around. Like Harmonix is still releasing music tracks every single month for Rock Band, but Guitar Hero just isn't around at all. And I would love to see Guitar Hero make some kind of return in any way, shape, or form. I don't care. Even if it's just they go back to the idea of Guitar Hero Live where all the music is streaming and you don't buy DLC, but it rotates out. Like I'm cool with that. Like I just want Guitar Hero to come back. I want some plastic instruments in my house again, Sean, because I am that person that will just, amass all that stuff. Although maybe, in my smaller place that I'm moving to, I probably won't be able to amass as much stuff, but I would love Guitar Hero to come back. Like that's the one, like number one on my list. But to your point, like I would also love to see Blizzard take more risks with their IPs, like doing more interesting stuff, not just doing World of Warcraft, or even just having like seeing what the Coalition could do with something like StarCraft. Ooh. I think that would be like super interesting.
Yes. Who did Gears Tactics? Was that Creative Assembly?
No, Creative Assembly did Halo Wars 2. You're thinking?
Oh. Who the heck am I thinking?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Look it up. I'll look Tactics. Maybe I
maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe
I wanted to ask you about Guitar Hero because I don't have a very popular opinion about this. I think Guitar Hero is way better than Rock Band. I think Rock Band runs like ass, dude. Like I've been playing Rock Band 2 on the 360 recently. I know you're playing 4, and like who cares about my opinion on a game that came out for the 360, for God's sake. So I just think it always ran terribly. Like the frame rate was brutal. So how are you supposed to play this rhythm game when they got all these film grain and graphics going on? It's like this game runs like garbage. Guitar Hero was smooth. It was the one with the drums that were way better. Like I think Guitar Hero Metallica was my probably most played game. It was so great. Splash Damage. Thank you, Yarden, in the chat.
The makers of Quake Enemy Territory.
Yes. So like, what could they do? I don't know. Give them something.
Yeah. Like, what if they did like I don't know, like let's see, what if they did a Call of Duty Tactics game? Like, how would be cool? That would be interesting. Like taking, like even doing something different with Call of Duty, like an IP that big, like I think would be interesting. But Sean, you haven't had your turn yet, but what if they brought Skylanders back? Like, how would you feel
give
about
me
that?
Skylanders. I think I have said this before. Give me Skylanders back, dude. I adore Skylanders a lot. And the whole Skyland universe. Give me another Spyro game. I think that would be incredible. Like the people are ready for these. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask you about Guitar Hero. I just wanted to state that I've always thought Guitar Hero was better than Rock Band. I want to make that clear. I know that's going to upset some people, but I don't care. It's my podcast. I get to say it.
So
my question for you.
Sorry.
Hang on. My question. I'm sorry. My question. I keep distracting myself. The innovations for Guitar Hero Live and what they did with Rock Band 4, was that necessary? Like, did that just distract people from the game they wanted to play?
So here's the thing. So Rock Band 4, there were small upgrades to it, but it's basically a smooth running version of Rock Band 3. It was basically a way for you to play your songs that you purchased from the 360 era of Rock Band on going forward on new consoles. Like that was the idea with Rock Band 4, which is one of the reasons I like it, because
it's a good idea.
To your point, the old Rock Band games didn't run super well, but Rock Band 4 is a beast. It actually runs very well, like a smooth 60 frames per second. Like you don't really have, latency with the notes or anything like that, like you might have had with the older games. So like, I do think that it's a much better package. And a lot of the reason why it had terrible reviews wasn't because it didn't run well, but it was because the song selection wasn't very good in the collection that you got with Rock Band 4, because they expected you to have a whole bunch of songs from the 360, or if you didn't have those songs already, you can buy them because they're all there still.
That's brutal. Like that's a critical moment in the rhythm game, like kind of history. You needed that to carry over. Like you needed to bring people through. So
because that was the mistake Guitar Hero Live made, where they basically made that, they did such a great upgrade to the guitar, but it meant you can never go back to the old songs from Guitar Hero ever again. Like they couldn't, bring any of those back. And because they also, one of the things
Guitar Hero believes in generations, right?
That's true. Well, one of the things I actually liked about Guitar Hero Live was they actually had this like streaming service called Guitar Hero Live channel, where essentially you would go to it and it would just be like streaming music, and the game would just, have you go and you just play songs in whatever order it plays in, and that would just kind of rotate out every month. It was almost like you were playing along with the radio.
Yeah, like satellite radio. Yeah.
Like it was really cool. Like I actually liked some of the ideas in Guitar Hero Live, but yeah, like that, they didn't need to go that direction. Like I really wished
should be part of it.
Yeah. Like I wish they had just released the standard guitar controller, or like a legacy adapter like Rock Band did, where you could connect your old instruments. So then you could just continue with the old Guitar Hero DLC. Because I have a lot of Guitar Hero DLC, Sean, that's locked to my 360 at this point. And it would have been nice to bring it with me.
I get picky about those guitars, man. And like the original 360, the Explorer. Yeah. That's the best one. Of all the guitars they ever released, that's the best one.
Yeah. Even with the PS2 guitars, Sean, because I think the PS2 guitars are pretty underrated as well, but
they're pretty good.
Definitely the Explorer was the best one, because Red Red Octane and Harmonix split. Of course, Red Octane made all the instruments. Yeah. And Harmonix teamed up with Mad Catz and EA, of course, for all their instruments.
I hated those guitars for Rock Band. They were terrible. The Fenders, they're brutal.
Yeah.
And who knew on this day where Activision gets bought by Xbox, we're going to spend a good 25 minutes on Rock Band and Guitar Hero. But I love it.
But you knew we would. That's how this worked. Because Red Octane made all the great instruments for Guitar Hero. Yes. So of course they would make all the instruments for, all the games going forward.
That's a huge reason for my opinion on Guitar Hero is the instruments to me always felt better.
Whereas I always enjoyed the song library for Rock Band more. So that was why it was always my preference.
Guitar Hero had Tool though, man. Guitar Hero was it 4 World Tour? They had Tool.
Oh. But you know the best part about the Guitar Hero instruments, Sean? You can play them all with Rock Band. And then
that's true.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So, no, they're both good games. I know people love both of them.
Yeah. And I mean, Rock Band had the keyboard. It's the only game with a keyboard that was actually pretty fun to play.
Yep. But makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, bring back Guitar Hero. Like, I really hope that these are true and real rumors that very soon outgoing CEO Bobby Kotick had kind of alluded to. It looks like he's transitioning until the end of the calendar year, Ryan.
Yeah, but they had already mentioned before the deal went through that like about a year ago that Kotick was going to stay on for a certain period of time so the company can transition, because you can't just have someone step into that seat day one without transition a company that big.
Like, just leave on day 60. Like, my point is, like, that's not a lot amount of time. That seems very short.
They feel like it's enough time, so
that's crazy.
I'm okay with that. Okay. But I mean, but you know what? I'm just glad that they just came out ahead of the conversation and just said he's out.
He's out.
Just said, "Yep, this is happening. He'll be here for these 60 days as someone already steps in." And I mean, I feel like they probably had prepared a little bit for this behind the scenes, kind of prepping whoever is going to be taking over next. In this spot already. So I don't think it's necessarily starting right from now where they're kind of transitioning in that spot. But yeah, like
Sarah Bond, I'm calling it right now. Sarah Bond's in charge of Activision.
Maybe. Or I mean, it could be anyone. It could be a whole bunch of different.
It could be
Rod Ferguson, Sean.
Rod Ferguson, and this is so mean because it means he's going to be taking somebody else's job. But I want Rod Ferguson to have Matt Booty's job. I want to put him in charge of all the first party stuff. I'm a huge fan of Rod Ferguson, man. That guy is infallible at this point. He's a legend in video games and he's not a boisterous personality. He's not going to get up on stage and go like, look at me. He's not a Cliff Bleszinski. He's not a Hideo Kojima. He's not any of these people. Like, he's just nice and he gets great games into our hands. And I just think he's got it, you know, in that world. He's got it figured out. He understands the whole process, the business side of it, the creative side. He just gets the things done and he's so reliable. So shout out to Rod Ferguson, man. Huge fan.
I also saw that you tweeted about that earlier, Sean.
Hell
so
yeah.
That's why I had to bring it up a little bit. But I want to go to Donnie's question, Sean, because this is very much a Ryan a question specifically more for me, but I would love to hear what you think about this, Sean. So Donnie asks, now that Activision Blizzard King is in the fold, is it time to reassemble the back compat team to make sure that new Game Pass editions are better than ever before day one on Game Pass? I mean, yeah, I think, Donnie, like to your point, I think they should reassemble the back compat team, not just to help, you know, transition those games into Game Pass, but also to actually maybe get back compat games that they couldn't bring back before because of licensing reasons, because now that they own Activision Blizzard, they could bring back certain Activision Blizzard games that were not part of the backwards compatibility program before. So like, I would love to see them, you know, revisit that a little bit now that, you know, they're actually under the umbrella. But also I think you're right, Donnie. I think they should help out with, and it's just kind of getting helping prep those games, get ready for Game Pass that we're going to see really soon. Because we don't really need day one Game Pass Activision games at this point. Because again, Modern Warfare 3 is not going to be day one this year. And the next big Activision game we're getting isn't probably until Call of Duty next year. I don't know what else Activision's even doing next year, Sean, at this point, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they've been able to talk about much, really. Yeah. Like, I think the whole thing has been down pretty quiet. But I think you're right. It's interesting how they just spent $68 billion on this company. It's like nobody knows what's coming out of them next. Like, I guess we're just going to keep on playing Call of Duty and World of Warcraft and Overwatch. Yeah,
I just looked it up. They haven't announced anything beyond Call of Duty at this point. And I think obviously we know in our heart of hearts that World of Warcraft expansion is probably coming out next year. But beyond that, there's nothing that's been announced at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're probably looking at, it'd be interesting because let's look back to the Bethesda thing where they had the Todd Howard and the Pete Hines and the Phil Spencer and everybody was around the table and, you know, drinking, I don't know,
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. So like, do you think that that's going to happen first of all, or do you think that the next time that we sort of see anything out of these two is like some sort of Xbox Direct, some sort of showcase, maybe in like February, maybe is kind of like off the top of my head. I'd love to see early 2024 something.
Maybe they do this when they're ready to announce the new CEO of Activision.
Yeah.
Because maybe they announced that, and then also they have some stuff there. I can't see also puts out a good point in the chat. BlizzCon's actually happening next month. So we could hear something at BlizzCon related to this.
Gosh,
like that would not surprise me. Because it like, you know, it could be even as something as like the older Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, like Diablo 2, the original, or Diablo 1, or Warcraft 3. Like, I think maybe they do something like that, like bring some of the older Blizzard games to Game Pass.
I kind of hope that they do something where it's like not all. I actually don't want it all at once. This is maybe me playing Nintendo games for too long, where you couldn't play all of Mario Maker on day one. You had to unlock it over weeks of playing it. For whatever reason, I kind of hope like January is a bunch of Blizzard games, and February is a bunch of Call of Duty games, and March is something else. Like, I don't know why. Like, I think that would be better to have like hit after hit after hit, because in a single news drop, there's only so much level of detail that you can get into.
Well, that's kind of what they did with Bethesda, though. So I don't imagine them taking a different approach this time around. In fact, they're going to probably do more drops this time around because Activision has way more games than Bethesda does.
It might just be a workload thing, like just to get to those games and bring.
That's what I mean. Like, I think you will get like one probably like a drop every month or every other month until pretty much all the games are there.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot to, I don't know. I know people have particular opinions about this. Like, it's weird to be excited about stuff, but I think it's neat that a bunch of games could get highlighted again, if nothing else. Like, could get highlighted, could get brought to Game Pass, like, because I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation. I feel like there's enough precedent set there that we can expect some cool older games to be brought back. Of course, Dave in the chat popping out Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like a lot of love for Tony Hawk. A lot of people's favorite games, by the way. Activision Blizzard and also King is there too. Like, that's the thing nobody really wants to talk about, is like some of the most played games on the planet are from this publisher.
I mean, despite all the problems with, Activision Blizzard, like Blizzard is still like one of my favorite video game companies based on the games I've played throughout my life. Like being a pro StarCraft player at one point, but also playing, World of Warcraft for a year of my life, Sean, an actual year of my life was spent playing World of Warcraft to, playing everything else from Blizzard. Like they are definitely in that elite camp, and they've made some of my favorite games of all time. So,
and now it has to be carefully managed, dude, because that's a high bar. The thing that we're just touching on right now, like these memories of like when Blizzard was infallible, they made no mistakes. StarCraft out of the gate, 3 races that none of them were like it wasn't orcs in space. It was unbelievable back in the day. And now they've got Overwatch 2, and people aren't really all that happy there. So there is huge potential, but it's not easy. Like, it's not obvious to me. It's not like, okay, well, just do what you did last year and everything's great. It's like, I don't know that everybody's really all that stoked with where Activision Blizzard's been for the last, 2 years or so.
Well, that's the whole reason why they were open to being purchased in the first place.
Good point.
Because they were kind of on a downward trend. And it's also going back to a point I mentioned earlier where it's like, don't expect big changes to happen overnight. Like, this is going to be like, it's going to take a few years for them to kind of get back into a solid spot. But, after seeing, how Capcom's kind of turned things around, or seeing other companies kind of turn things around, like, I think that, there is a lot of potential with Activision kind of turning things around now that they are under the Microsoft umbrella. But to your point, Sean, they have to be well organized and maintained, and
choose the project get the resources allocated to where they need to go, let the studios do their thing. That's all good. And it's not a given at all. But I'm excited to see that. And what I love is the commentary about this, Ryan, where it's like, okay, now that this deal is done, Xbox has got to get this figured out in the next 2 years. And it's where are these timelines coming from? Like, is this based on like how you did your $69 billion deal? Like,
that's not how game development works, because they can't turn the ship that quick.
I don't think that's how acquisitions work. I don't think you make a decision like this and expect the return to come in 12 months. And if like that would be new to me, but that's not where my mindset is at.
I mean, it's happened with certain developers like Minecraft, when Microsoft acquired Minecraft in the first place, or, when Sony acquired Insomniac. Sure, But that was because they had either, Insomniac already had projects in place that then helped them recoup that value, or in Minecraft's case, it was just Minecraft was just so popular that it just recouped all the money quickly anyways.
That's what I was going to jump in to say. Like, I feel like Microsoft purchased Minecraft and nothing changed. Like nobody would even know for the longest time. So that's kind of what I mean. Like they internally, they looked at that and went, that was pretty good. We're happy with it. We're going to be able to do all these other things and expand on the universe and put into HoloLens or whatever the hell else, put it on your phones. That was a real shame, by the way. Minecraft Earth, was it called? The augmented reality one? Like that should have been great.
The one where they're like, hey, watch me knock over all these bricks as I hit this brick on these other bricks.
That should have been really good. It was cool to see that. So yeah, like the timeline that commentators kind of put on these things is
very unrealistic. Like I said, totally this is a conversation we revisit in 5 years. 5 more years of the Xbox.
I can't see with a great point. We just got the stuff that Bethesda was developing before their acquisition.
Yes.
Like we haven't really seen, aside from maybe Starfield coming out a year later or a couple of years later than they thought.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen the Xbox or the Microsoft impact on Bethesda yet. So
that's what I mean. Like we'll
things take
Sean,
time.
You and I will put a pin in this conversation. We'll revisit it in 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's when we'll know one way or the other, like how, like whether this deal was worth it or not. Yeah. Or if they were able to turn it around. Yeah.
We'll
2
see.
years. No.
We'll see. Like I said, I think for me, the Game Pass going in with every console is like it's not even every console, it's just the Series S's. It's gotta be like everywhere. And I don't know if there's some sort of like monopoly laws or whatever from keeping them from doing that, but like why isn't that bundled like everywhere you can possibly see? Like give people trials everywhere, especially if you're getting them on all these different devices. It doesn't have to be attached to a console purchase. Like prompt it up when I start up my computer, for God's sakes, or wherever. Like, don't get maybe too invasive.
You should be able to just trip on when you trip on the street, Sean. It just comes with Game Pass.
It should be like the Columbia House, buy 12 CDs for a penny, Brian. You get those flyers in the mail. Okay.
You're making that sound like that's still not a thing. Now,
it's still a thing.
Actually, I don't think Columbia House does it, but have you ever heard of the Disney Movie Club, Sean?
I haven't. I can't believe that.
The Disney Movie Club is basically what Columbia House was, where it's like you can sign up today to get these five movies of your choice for $10.
Well, and it's a good deal, man.
You subscribe to a movie every month, kind of thing.
Yeah. So more like the marketing. I think the push of it. I just don't think that it's quite there. Like I feel like you guys. We talk about this all the time. Game Pass already is a good product. It's a good offering, and they're just not doing a good enough job of getting that in front of people and converting. Like it's a basic marketing thing here at this point. And so that's really got to be cleaned up. Are you in the right place in front of the right consumers to have them make that decision to sign up? I would argue no. I just feel like this is such an important piece. It's got to be ubiquitous and not just for Game Pass dorks like us who just think that it's cool. It's got to be cool everywhere else. And there's something getting missed there. Like to me, that's the barrier that they're hitting on this growth. I don't think it's a matter of what games are or aren't coming to Game Pass. I think it's a matter of who is this getting in front of. And you can't just rely on podcasters and people on Twitter to share the word. You got to get in front of them, man.
You got to get the grandmas and grandpas to know, Sean.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's just a matter like there's so many people who play games, and maybe that's the King part. Maybe that's the whole piece is how many monthly active users there are with Activision King. You could put it in front of those people, and all the people playing Call of Duty, you can put in front of those people. It's the whole, by the way, I didn't mention this. I think Court mentioned it on the PlayStation Drive. I played that open beta for Call of Duty, and there's like 6 screens that are like battle pass. Super annoying. But I bet it sold a lot of battle passes.
Probably.
And I think you're going to see a lot of game passes in the similar sense.
Well, yeah. What if you boot up the free version of Candy Crush and it's advertising Game Pass? It's like you're playing the free version of Candy Crush and you're getting ads, but you could just click this button to sign up for Game Pass, and then you won't have to deal with these ads anymore.
Or Warzone or any of the other free to play stuff too. So there's lots of opportunity, and not that I'm trying to advocate for like annoying advertisements, but I have like a marketing background, and it's a passion of mine for sure. And that's just my observation. I think the product is right. You just need to get in front of the right audiences. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go, Sean. I think that's gonna wrap up our conversation.
Is that
enough? I mean, unless there's anything else you wanted to add before we wrap things up, Sean.
I don't think anything comes to mind. I just want Spyro. I want my Skylanders. You know,
I just want Guitar Hero.
More plastic. This is really what I want.
Now, the real answer, Sean, is we need Phantasmagoria to come back.
That'd be good.
Activision, if you're listening right now, Phantasmagoria.
I just want surprises. I want some delight out of this. If I have any closing thoughts on this, like I said, everybody wants Call of Duty. That's where all eyes are on. But I'd love for some, even still out of maybe some Bethesda stuff, some surprise, something from the past to delight us. I think that would be very, very cool.
Yeah. Also, Activision as well, if you're listening, call up Hasbro and say, hey, we want to bring back those 2 Transformer games from the 360 because people still want to play them. We'll want to put them on Game Pass.
Activision published those games, the Platinum games?
Which games? They weren't made by Platinum. They were made by High Moon Studios.
Oh.
The 2 Xbox 360 Transformers games.
Didn't Platinum
War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron? Those games, Sean, if you've never played them, they're like third-person shooters in the Transformer universe. Nothing to do with the movies. Very, very different from movies. Oh my God, those games are awesome. Those are really, really good video games.
I don't know why I thought Platinum. I knew those games were good.
Platinum did Transformers Devastation, which was the Xbox One game.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, those games are great. We have them on PS3 actually in boxes in the other room. Those are very good.
Yeah, bring those back, please. But
nice.
Anyways,
good one.
Before we go, Sean Plugs, go.
Find me on Twitch Friday nights. It might be Forza Friday once again. No, it won't be. It's going to be Spider Wonder next week, actually. All day. By the way, really should be plugging that. October 20th, Mario and Spider-Man coming out on the same day. We're playing it all over on Twitch. And you can win, Ryan.
That's true.
Actually, you're not eligible, so you can't win.
I'm pointing.
You, dear listener, dear watcher, rate us on the Nintendo Drive, the PlayStation Drive on iTunes, and who says iTunes anymore, on Spotify, and send us a picture of your review. We'll get you entered on in. That's for free. No purchase necessary. But you can also buy over at carpoolgaming.com in our merch store. We've got a Spider Wonder shirt. It's a elephant Mario swinging from his thwip web, Ryan. It's a beautiful,
I'm glad that you came up with that terminology there.
Thwip web. Thwip, Ryan.
God.
So you get 3 entries in for that. You get an entry, I think, or 2. I think it's just 1 for the sticker. Very cool stuff. Last chance. We're doing the giveaway on the 19th, the day before. So if you want to buy one of those games or pre-order or whatever, you're going to know if you're going to get it in your grubby little hands from us on the 19th. So don't delay. Do it today. Do the thing. And we're going to play it all together. It's going to be a great day. I've got it off from work. So we're going to be starting at, 10 o'clock? 10 a.m.
I'll be there.
Eastern time.
You'll be there. Seth Sturgill will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then later that afternoon, Spider-Man 2 with Matt and Court.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. And then maybe, you know what, just to make it a trifecta, maybe we'll throw in some Forza at the end of that. We'll do Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox Day.
You know what, Sean, to make it a quattrifecta or whatever you call a fourfecta, I don't know what that is. I'll just boot up a game of Castlevania on NES. I'll just play it from start to finish.
That seems to make sense. Sure.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
There you go. So my plug is Twitch next Friday, October 20th. We're going to be there like for a lot of the days. So come hang out there, but be like everybody else who's been joining on Patreon. Got a lot of cool content coming on there. Patreon.com/carpoolgaming. My review is still doing pretty decent numbers, at least for our channel anyways, for Forza Motorsports. So if you haven't already checked it out, check it out, give it a like, leave a comment in there. That's it for me, my friend.
Absolutely. Also, Sean, I just want to point out, there's a really great short that we posted that no one's really watched about all signs point to gout. You should go watch that. You should go watch that short because it's got criminally underrated views on that.
That's okay. That's okay. It's sometimes these shorts are for us to go back to and laugh and giggle. Ryan, based on my last bone scan, probably arthritis. I might have arthritis in my foot. So we'll
better.
Yeah.
Even more of an old man disease than gout.
That might be gout. I don't know. I don't understand these things. So stay tuned for my medical updates here on the Xbox Drive.
Good God. As for me, you can find me on Twitter doing the old weather report, talking about the cold front coming in and the rate of precipitation over on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You also find us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming, right here, youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, Twitch at twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming Live, and of course, podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I am Ryan Turford. This has been episode 312 of the Xbox Drive, and we're out. Bye. Hey, Donnie and Sean.
No power greater than X.